but Bitcoin has actually all the characteristics of a good money.
In the past, you've said, look, there's about 2,000 public companies that consider themselves in the gold business, but they really range from the majors like the Barracks and the Newmonts to some guy in the desert with a mule. So the question is, how do we pick the winners in the space? What are things we should be staying away from? And do you think that we could still make money in this space? So I want to cover all this ground with you here right now. Is this specific to the gold industry, this divide?
Well, it's certainly kind of specific to the mineral exploration business. Mostly explorers explore for gold for a number of reasons we don't have to go into now. And first of all, let me say, I think right now is one of those superb times to buy mining stocks, because with gold at 1,800, 1,900, 2,000, whatever it is, or is going to in the next little while, all-in sustaining costs of miners that are actually producing average $1,000 per ounce. So the fact is that mining companies are going to be coining money, making huge amounts of money with gold prices at this level. The stocks are lagging though. Why? Because the public is not involved at all. They buy ETFs, they buy mutual funds. They think they're in the stock market because they have a pension fund. So there's been no buying to speak of these mining stocks. They've gone up quite a bit this last year, but it's not even a rounding error on a rounding error relative to the regular market, point number one. And point number two, less people believe in gold among the American and Canadian public, I should say, than has ever been the case in the past, because we've had a couple generations of people that have been programmed and politicized and propagandized by college. Everybody goes to college these days, it seems, where they pick up all kinds of false economic ideas. They think, like Warren Buffett does, that gold is a pet rock. So yeah, the miners have lagged a lot, but even Buffett, in that quarterly report, the last one, showed that he bought a whole bunch of Barrick. Look, the next bubble is going to be in gold and gold mining stocks. And it's going to be like getting the contents of Hoover Dam through a garden hose, which is an analogy that I've used many times in the past, and it's going to happen again. So that's kind of my overture for this crappy business called mining. And it is a crappy business. Basically, I mean, listen, kids don't want to go into mining today. Who wants to play with big yellow trucks playing in the dirt when you can, create nap and become a billionaire overnight? So there's no interest in mining. That's why you want to buy it right now.
On your first point, Doug, about kind of no interest in the miners right now, how much of it do you think has to do with, this 300% run up in Bitcoin? Do you think of those people, speculators who perhaps would have speculated on mining are looking to Bitcoin?
To some degree, but the important thing about Bitcoin, I was a late adopter to it. I didn't get into it until July of 17. Bitcoin has actually all the characteristics of a good money, just like gold does. And it's better than gold in some ways for use as a transfer device to take money across borders and between people without using a bank as an intermediary. In any event, at some point in the next few years, as they create these trillions of new dollars, we're likely to have a crack-up boom, a phony artificial boom, where everybody's buying anything to get out of the dollar, which is in the future going to be losing value at high rates, and people are going to be afraid to leave it in the bank because the banks are unstable. So they're going to buy real goods, cars and houses. That's a crack-up boom, a phony boom. It's not economic. And one of the things that they're going to buy is Bitcoin, because it's one way of getting out of the dollar. They're going to buy a lot of gold too, which is the classic way of getting out of fiat currency. So no, they're kind of competitors, but no, Bitcoin's been wonderful for gold, I think, because it has exposed a whole generation of people to the fact that paper money, the government's issue, is fiat currency. And people have had to think about, why do I want Bitcoin instead of dollars? So it's gotten a lot of people thinking. So I'm a big fan of Bitcoin for many, many reasons.
I agree with you on that, Doug. So getting back to the miners, I know you've said that 95% are gambles, and that you really have to do your homework. You have to understand rocks to some degree. You don't have to be a geologist per se, but I know you've said you have to understand somewhat the business if you're looking to invest in it. Maybe you can help shed light on common things we should avoid, or common things that a lot of these promoters, and there's a lot of promoters in this space, say that we should be red flags for us.
Well, that's correct. And when it comes to buying mining stocks, I've got a checklist actually, just to make sure I don't forget anything stupidly. And I call them the 9 Ps, things that all begin with P, that you want to examine before you take a substantial position in any company. And we can go over those. But actually, one thing that's become popular, in the context of mining stocks where, there's nobody involved in there, nothing's popular really, is royalty companies. I mean, Pierre Lassonde and Seymour Schulich, who are old friends of mine, although I haven't seen them for years, formed the first mining royalty company, I don't know how many years ago, 30 years ago. And it was extraordinarily successful, Franco-Nevada. Now there are probably a dozen royalty companies for gold. And they're a very safe way, assuming the managers of the company know which royalties to buy. But still, they're a very safe way to get participation in this business. And it's the first thing that institutions, when they finally start buying gold stocks again, which they will, are going to buy, because it's kind of the fail-safe way of profiting from gold prices and mining. So yeah, I'm big on, in fact, my 2 biggest positions are royalty stocks. They happen to be, I'm talking my book here, they happen to be Metalla Royalty,
Right.
which is gold, and Nova Royalty, which is copper and nickel primarily.
Right.